All right. Called meeting to order. Alyssa, can you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Norwood,
Here.
Commissioner Ezell,
Here.
Commissioner Waddell,
Here.
Commissioner Stallings,
Here.
Commissioner Mason,
Here.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Here. All right, well, here tonight, thank you. Invocation tonight is going to be done by Commissioner Waddell, followed by the flag salute by Chief Master Sergeant Graziano from Vance.
Please bow your head. Father God, we come to you in this time of turmoil in our country as we come to knowledge of things that some have known and some are just coming to find out that America isn't everything that we thought it would be. But it still can be everything that we hope it to be, Father God. But we can't do that based on our own knowledge and our own wisdom, Father God. We need to look to you. We'd ask that you would bestow upon us the wisdom, the compassion, and the love, Father God, that we know how to look at our brother and our sister, that although they may not look like us, we are connected by blood, Father God, and we are brothers and we are sisters, that we would look on each other with love and compassion and with empathy, so that you would heal the wounds that we have, Father God, and that we may march together arm in arm to the promised land that you promised us, Father God. We'd ask that you would just bless this land, this country, this world, this community, and this council, and the people that have shown up here, Father God, to express their hearts. We love you, we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you both. Item number 3, minutes. Item 3.1, consider approval of minutes of the special meeting on May 7th, 2020, and the rescheduled regular commission meeting of May 19th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll, or
Can we do the switches since we're all here?
do what?
Can we do the switches since we're all here now?
Yes, we can.
It's the most
Can we?
fun part.
Okay, yeah. It's the most fun part.
Hold on. The problem is, somebody's going to have to clear it, right, Alyssa? Or
I can do it.
you got it, okay.
Yeah.
It's within your skill level.
All right.
We'll see.
Been trained to do
It's just not in the job description.
It's not on.
License?
Huh?
JT.
All right. Is it good?
I can go home now.
All right. Everybody, please cast your ballots. All right. Mission carries 7-0. Thank you.
Commissioner Waddell.
Item number 4.
Very nice.
Item number 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item number 4.1, recognize City of Enid Employees of the Month.
Thank you, Mayor. We, as everybody else in the world, and Enid, we've been going through difficult times for many, many reasons. One of them is the COVID pandemic that we've been through, and so we've kind of changed our processes, but this is kind of the first time we've been back to a live meeting, not on Zoom. And so we want to recognize employees because we have great employees that have been working throughout this. And a lot of them are here tonight, but 3 of them I'm going to specifically recognize. And I'm going to start with Dane Tate. Dane, come on over. Thank you for waving. You know, I would just say a few things, and I'm going to let Scott say a few wonderful things about Dane. Dane's been with the city, I'm guessing, 4 or 5 years now. He's been the Enid, what was the Enid Television Network is now the Communications Department and the Media Center. Come on up, Derek. Dane works directly for Derek over there and sits over by, well, the Media Center, Welcome Center area. And Dane makes all the has a lot to do with editing and making those videos that you have seen, hopefully you've seen. And so with that, Scott and Derek, you want to come up and say a few words? And
I'll be very quick. We try to have transparency in the city of Enid, and if anyone has enjoyed Facebook Live videos, YouTube, some of the Zoom videos, Dane's been a great part of that. There was a Memorial Day piece that was just put out, and I got to tell you, that big windstorm that we had, is it all right if I say it? Sure. Dane had a little tiny house that blew over that weekend, and he still showed up on Sunday afternoon to edit that video in time to come out on Memorial Day. So above and beyond, thank you for your service. Eric?
Scott took all of my words. I want to say to you, I really appreciate Dane. We've been doing a lot of online communication, and he has been a very big part of that. And as he mentioned about a tiny house, he still came in to support the efforts of us being transparent to the community, and I really appreciate it. So, you have any words?
well, with that, I'm going to give you a plaque and a coin, and thank you again, and you get to speak. I know you, when you're videoing me and others, you're always videoing them. You're on video.
Get to talk very
You're on
often,
video.
so I'm going to take advantage of it here. No, I just want to say to the commissioners that for a guy that has 10 bosses, this is as good as it could be. And I mean, it's a great, we have a great management team here. And I want to say too, to a lot of the people who work around the city, I show up sometimes and stick a camera in your face, and it's like, that's not very comfortable. But we have some amazing people here at the city who just rise to the occasion. Of course, Deirdre told me the first time we ever did, she said, I love being on TV, so anytime you got something for me, I'm good. But she's kind of the exception. But, I mean, it's not just directors. It's the guys out filling potholes, the guys and gals, it's the people in the, the water treatment facilities, whatever it is, it's where we show up. There's people who really rise to the occasion, and it makes my job very easy. And so I just want to say kudos to those guys. Thank you.
Frank, come on up. I've known Frank Haley a long time. In fact, I think I've known him before I even worked for the city. And I think Frank's been at the city forever. Frank's been in a lot of departments. Come on up, James. Yeah. He's currently in water production. So I don't see as much of him as maybe I did when he was in code or in other places like EPTA, because he's out in the well fields, making sure that the water we drink works, is produced, and all that record keeping. But James, why don't you say some nice things about Frank?
Yeah, nice thing.
Short speech.
As the city manager says, Frank's been with the city for a long time. I think he's about 10 days older than dirt. But from running treatment at the plant to locating any well field that we have, to doing any maintenance to any piece of equipment that we have, Frank can do it. He's a big asset to the water production department, and glad to have him. Thank you.
We never know what you're going to say.
That's right.
Here's your plaque, and here's your coin. Oh, and that's
Thank
right,
you.
you have a parking spot.
Yes, I do.
Good for you.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it very much. That's it.
And our last employee of the month is Danny Smith. Michael, come on up too. Danny's our electrician. He's a whole lot of other things too. And so I see him around anytime something needs to be fixed. And that's frequently around the city. So anyway, Michael, why don't you talk about great things he does for us?
Sure. Danny is one of our long-term employees, too. He's approaching 37 years this year. So that's quite an accomplishment, something to be very proud of. We love having Dan around. He is one of the hardest-working men I've ever met. Give you an example, Christmas in the park, if you've been there, done that, he not only runs the toy station and helps build little toys, right, but he practically put the thing together by himself. So other than the hanging of the lights, he supplied all the electricity, And he was a one-man gang. He's getting out there and getting it done. So, good job, and, wish we could clone you too. All right.
Come on up, Danny. I call you Danny, but we got Dan here on the plaque. And so you got a parking spot too.
Yes, I do.
So now you get to be on camera and do all the talking.
I just want to thank you for the acknowledgement. It's been a good place to work, and I thank God for the job that I have, and all through the years, seen all the changes, and some of the good things, some of the bad things, but it's all been good. And like I say, God's blessed me, and I've had a really good job for a long time. And I thank the city of Enid for my job.
Okay. Item 4.2, consider appointments to the Aviation Advisory Board. Alyssa, do we have, how many vacancies do we have? I can't open my PDF file.
There are 3 vacancies and there are 3 applicants.
Okay,
I move to
approve.
Second.
3 applicants.
okay. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Okay. Alyssa, can you read the names for me?
The appointees are Daryl Judy, Michael Porter, and Trevor Miller.
All right, congratulations to all of you, and thank you for serving. All right, next up, item 4.3, consider appointments to the Tree Board.
At Tree Board, there's 2 vacancies and 2 applicants.
Okay,
Corey Buller, who is our Parks and Rec Supervisor, who's an incumbent, and Sarah Stuber, who's also an incumbent. They both seek reappointment.
I move to reappoint both.
Second.
okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next up,
Next up, Parks and Rec Board, there's 2 vacancies, 3 applicants. I believe 2 of the applicants at least are here. Tricia Mitchell, actually, Tricia Mitchell and Mary McDonald are incumbents, but Mary is term limited. Ron and Dennis Spiker are also applicants. I know that Tricia Mitchell is here. Tricia, do you want to say anything to the commission?
I have really enjoyed serving on this board, and I am currently the chair, and I would love to have another term and continue. I think we're doing some great things with the parks in Enid, and I really love being involved, and I hope you'll consider me for another term.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
I know you all know, you know all these people anyway, but Ron, Commissioner, former Commissioner Jansen, 2-time, perfect attendance, come on up, and 4 times.
Yes, I just wanted to come and let you know that I am really interested in being back on the park board again. I've been involved with Enid's parks now for the last 40-some-odd years, and we've seen a lot of really great things happen in the parks in recent years, and I'd like to see us keep that going and continue to make improvements as we always need more things in the parks, and a trail system too. So anyway, I'd appreciate you selecting me for the park board again. Thank you.
And is Dennis Spiker here?
Okay.
Don't think he's here. So you have 3 applicants, 2 positions.
Okay,
You should have a ballot in front of you.
please fill out your ballots. Okay, while they're counting those up, we'll go to 4.5, consider appointment to the Community Development Block Grant Commission.
Yes, Mayor, there's 1 vacancy on this commission, and there's 2 applicants. I know one of them's here. Is Sharon Doty here?
I am.
Okay, come on up, please.
Well, first, I thank you for the opportunity to apply to be considered for this. My husband and I raised our children in Enid and lived here about 20 years. He served on a board for the city. Then we moved away for a while, and a couple of years ago, I moved back because Enid was the place I wanted to be and to participate and make a difference. This particular board is something that is very close to my heart. I have spent almost 50 years of my life working for and on behalf of marginalized and needs in communities. And so I would appreciate the opportunity to serve the city of Enid in this way.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And Lisa Powell.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to apply for the CDBG board position. CDBG is something that intersects with my work in economic development. It's a field that we study and learn about in economic development, and so I would love the opportunity to participate in the board here in Enid and help move those funds and make them used in the most productive way for the community. So thank you for your consideration.
All right, cast your ballots. Okay, while they're doing that, we'll go to 4.6, consider appointment to the Board of Adjustments.
Board of Adjustments, there are 3 vacancies and 4 applicants. And I know several or all of them are here tonight. Brian Henry, former city employee, come on up.
So I applied for this because I like to, adjust boards. Sorry. I'm not formal at all or good at public speaking. So in short and sweet, I love Enid. I enjoyed my time being employed here and just had an advancement opportunity that led me somewhere else, but I still want to make a positive impact in the community and do my part. Worked in code enforcement for 3.5 years over here, and this is about as close as you can get to that on the civilian side of things. So I thank you guys for the consideration.
Jimmy Nicholas.
Good evening. I first learned about this. I went to a Board of I think it's the last Board of Adjustments meeting, and I saw that there were some openings, and I went to that meeting. I thought, boy, I'd really like to do this. I think I could do some good. So I put my name in. I'm a lifelong Enid resident, and I just really like to do this. I'm on the Historic Preservation Board now. I've been working on that for a couple of years. I've been on it twice, and I just appreciate the opportunity to serve the city of Enid. Thank you.
Tilly Sewell. Tilly here tonight? Okay. Michael Shuck.
A lot of you know me. I've been working on a lot of construction projects all over Enid recently as Director of Facilities for Enid Public Schools. During that time, I got to know a lot about the zoning, been in and out of here quite a bit. Chris Bowers here and make a joke about twisting his arm. But I've also worked all over the Southern Plains and different municipalities trying to deal with zoning ordinances and things there too. So have kind of a broad knowledge of zoning. I also know that Enid has been one of the best cities that I've worked with as an owner's rep or in construction. So I'd really like to be part of this. It's a real positive thing to be part of that a system that's working pretty nice. So I'd appreciate your vote.
You have 3 vacancies and 4 applicants. You have a ballot in front of you.
Okay. Okay. For the Park and Recreation Board, the 2 that were selected are Ron Jansen and Tricia Mitchell, each one receiving all 7 votes.
Move to approve. I think it's already, I don't think we vote on it. I think that's the.
Yeah.
We're done?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
All right, congratulations and thank you both. Yep. Okay.
Congratulations.
And Ron, thanks for for staying in there and helping out, continuing to serve. Appreciate that. CDBG Commission, we get to, the vote was 5-2 for Lisa Powell. Voting for Lisa Powell were Allen, Norwood, Waddell, Stallings, and Mason. Voting for Womack were Ezell and Pankinen. Congratulations, Lisa. All right.
Yeah, and I would just say, everybody that isn't appointed, we will, please, thank you for applying. We will get you on a board before it's over.
Yep. True. We have one more coming, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, Mayor, do you want to go ahead and do the last one, the PACE Committee? It's going to be easier.
Yeah.
I think.
4.7, consider appointments to the Public Arts Commission of Enid.
Now, there's 6 vacancies. Originally, there was 8 applicants, or 7 applicants. Is that right? We had 1 drop out, Alyssa?
We started with 8,
Okay.
and we've had 2 that had to withdraw.
Who are the 6 that are still, is it Ron Jansen, Marcy Jarrett?
Ron Jansen, Marcy Jarrett, Paula Nightingale, Christy Northcutt, Carolyn Poplin, and Michael Shook.
Move to appoint.
Okay. Motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations to all. And as Mr. Gilbert has said, we really appreciate, part of what makes the community run is the fact that people within the community are willing to step up and do their part. So we very much appreciate those that have stepped forward to do that. Okay, the last one that was still out is for the Board of Adjustment. Brad Henry, Jimmy Nicholas, and Michael Shook all received all 7 votes. So congratulations to you 3, and appreciate your serving as well. All right. Next on the agenda is administration. What I would like to do, first, if you were here to address us about being on any of the panels, please feel free to leave. I'm not trying to chase anybody out, but I'm here to tell you that in these days of COVID-19 pandemic, the less time we spend being crowded, the better. So it's not impolite in the least. If we're done with your part of the business and you decide to move on, please feel free to do so. Okay. And in that spirit, what I'd like to do is move public comments up. It's number 14 on the agenda. I'm going to move it up ahead of number 5. And the reason is I think there's a lot of people in here that want to discuss that. So I'd like that to happen at this point. And then if they choose to leave after that, they can do that without having to go through the other 13 items on the agenda.
Did we get everybody in the hallway signed up who wanted to speak?
There's another page and a half that's on the way.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right.
Make sure we catch everybody.
Well, all right, then let me start with this one. And what I will say is, I don't want to limit people by time because I really want to hear what everybody has to say. On the other hand, if somebody just gets done saying exactly what you were going to say, I think in the interest of time of everybody that's in here, please stand up and acknowledge the fact that you also agree with those exact same words and thoughts, and then yield your time to the next person. If you have something new, please do present that new information as well. That said, I'm going to go right down the list in order that they were signed up. And first up is Milton Mitchell. Please come forward, list your name and your address, and feel free to address us. You're up, sir.
My name is Milton Mitchell, 3621 Antelope Drive, Enid, Oklahoma. And in light of the current situation that we have that's occurring across the nation, I've come down to say a few words. And I don't want to be redundant in anything because we have Miss Taylor, who was in Louisville, Kentucky, and she was, sad to say, gunned down in her home. Ahmaud Arbery, I'm sure you're all very familiar with. He was gunned down in Georgia. And most recently, George Floyd, who now people are demonstrating all across the country. And it's the most difficult time, but all of us in the Enid community, it's the Black community, and I am a member of the NAACP, and we don't in any way condone violence or crime of any manner. And we do think that it's very sad that there are individuals who have stepped in that are taking advantage of this particular situation to bring havoc into the country, especially at a time when we all need healing and we need direction. And I have many friends on the police department, and I have stepsons and like that who are members of the police department, and I know that they're very kind and conscientious individuals who really care about their particular communities. And so I want to say that first. And one of the things, though, that I do see as a problem that I hope our local police will do is it seems that the body cameras that they have, they just seem to not come on until the particular policeman is already in some type of confrontation or conflict, instead of the camera running from the very beginning. And I think that it would resolve many questions that come up later on, because it's almost as though instead of answering questions, it causes more questions when the camera is not rolling. And it just seems to leave room for excuse and questions concerning those key terms, stop resisting or you're resisting arrest, when many times a person isn't resisting at all, but it's said that it hasn't been captured on film. So I am hoping to stand here today to encourage our local police department to, instead of waiting until you're in confrontation, to already have your cameras rolling and keep them rolling from the beginning all the way to the end. Because if you're like most conscientious individuals, you don't want to be misunderstood, and you want to represent yourselves in the best light possible. And it's time for those kinds of phrases that I recognize as a Black man as code, to use excessive violence, stop resisting, or I'm afraid, even though as a person I may not even be weaponized, have no type of weapon whatsoever. But here we are in 2020, and I'm having to speak to my grandchildren and now my great-grandchildren, because I am in fear for their lives. And that's just to be honest about it. I am absolutely in fear for their lives. Every time I get in my car, I am extremely conscious of where I am and what I'm doing. I don't speed, and I do try to obey the law when it comes to that, but I'm always concerned that I'm going to be pulled over for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I had a confrontation with my wife, who happens to be a Caucasian and of German descent, and we were headed to the airport. And we got pulled over going to the airport. And my wife was upset because she didn't want to miss her plane. Well, the policeman asked me to get out of the car, which I did. But the problem was, she got out of the car. And she went in to proceed and said, I have a right as an American citizen. And the more she talked, the more he reached for his gun. And then he pulled his gun out. And I said, man, don't do that. And he said, don't you move, don't you move. I said, I'm not moving. I said, don't hurt my wife. She's just upset, and she's afraid she's going to miss her plainly said, well, tell her to get back in the car. And I said, honey, get back in the car. And she said, I don't have to get back in the car. I've got my rights. And I said, well, and I said, well, honey, but you're white. And he's afraid because I'm black. And he's afraid, and he was exhibiting. I mean, he started shaking. He had his gun, and he's pointing towards me. I'm standing real still. And he's pointing towards me and saying, tell her to get back in the car, and she's not doing what he's saying, and she's not doing what I'm saying either. So, you know, that situation was very upsetting to me. I was crying when it was all over. And I said, honey, you just don't understand. And, you know, I couldn't expect her to understand because she hadn't lived through the things that I've lived through. She hadn't had to deal with the things that I've had to deal with. So I want us as a community, there's more good people than there are bad. Regardless to what people think, there are far more good people than there are bad. There are far more that are for us than are against us. When I marched during the civil rights and as a young kid and walked in the Doyle Cafe down on Main Street, some of you may remember that place, and the local sheriff, I was just, you know, a young kid, about 12 and a half, 13 years old. And the sheriff came in, grabbed me by the neck, lifted me up, and held me up there until I almost passed out. That is what systemic racism does. It gives people that are in authority to misuse that authority. I don't want us to rescind or to go back to something that we've progressed from. So I did a little searching, and I know police are investigating themselves. That's a major conflict of interest. And I would like to encourage our local police department, when things happen, have an independent investigation. Don't be afraid. If something hasn't happened, don't be afraid to have an independent investigation so that no one can say that you're being partial or you're trying to fix the situation. Because as people of color, that is what we have been privy to for hundreds of years. And I'm not saying individuals here have done that, but that's what has happened as far as the system itself is concerned. So we also need to have official data on how many people police kill each year. I mean, it's given, information is given out systematically in the news about how many citizens may kill a policeman, but the data is not being kept for policemen who kill citizens. Whether they're white or black doesn't matter to me, but when something like that happens, it's devastating to those individual families. It doesn't matter what your color is. It's just a devastating thing. We also, I would like to see us repair the community trust, and the police need to do that to effectively do their job. Get out in the community. I'm working with one of the, we're about to have an election for our sheriff, and there are several of them that are running for sheriff in Garfield County. I've talked with every one of them. And one of the things that I have encouraged them to do, get out in the community. Become a visible person of the community. You're a part of Enid. You're a part of Garfield County. So every place you go, that's your community. Whether it's in Southern Heights or whether it's on the west side, it doesn't matter. All of that is a part of your community. And I would like to encourage our local police department, get out there, make yourself visible, make yourself known, shake some hands, talk to the people, and ask them what's their concern and what you can do to become a more effective policeman. There's two major components in the criminal justice system. There's substantive criminal law, which deals with statutes, and they define the criminal acts. And then there's procedural criminal law, which dictates how the criminal justice system treats people, which is where our complaint is as a people of color, we've been dehumanized. People don't look at us as being human beings. It's sad that in 2020, people use my color as a form of weapon to say, I fear you simply because you're black. And I'm afraid, and the difference between how I am treated and how my white constituents are treated is like night and day. If I were to get out of the car, then I may be shot immediately. Whereas my white constituents and my white brothers and my white friends, they can get out of the car and they don't fear that at all. That's quite a disparity. And that's, when it comes to procedural law, that is a part of the problem, how things are handled. So criminal procedures, they're seen as a branch of the law that dictates how the government investigates, how they prosecute, how they judge, how they sentence those accused of crimes. If I go to jail for selling marijuana, probably I'm going to be sentenced to 20 or 30 years. If you, on the other hand, are convicted of the same crime, more than likely, as a white individual, you will have a suspended sentence or you may do some kind of community service. That's quite a disparity. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about systemic injustice. Because the system seems to be set up and rigged to work that way. So when people of color got up and said, Black Lives Matter, it was dismissed to say, well, blue lives matter. Of course blue lives matter, but they're not being targeted, whereas people of color are being targeted. So the bulk is in interpreting. What happens is we have to realize that the interpretation of the Bill of Rights, that's the job of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, which has the power to establish police practice in the field. But not only do we have the Supreme Court, what we're forgetting is we have the state constitution, and we have the state Supreme Court, and the state of Oklahoma has power. And they can decide how the state of Oklahoma, how the police departments in the state of Oklahoma, how they proceed going forth from this point. Listen, we are at a crossroads. We are at a crossroads. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened here. It happened when Emmett Till was killed, and now it has happened with George Floyd. We as a nation and as a people, we are at a crossroads. How are we going to be as one human being to another? Do we care enough to say that enough is enough? And I know that you have your power and you have the positions that you hold as mayor and city council, but you do have influence with the local police department. And you do have things that you can dictate and say to them as a part of this jurisdiction and as a part of the city of Enid. Use your power. Help us to be the kind of citizens that we know we are. We love our community. And we love our brothers and sisters. White, black, it doesn't matter. Believe me, it doesn't matter. And don't fear. I have one of my friends, I'm going to leave with this and stop because I don't want to be too long. But he's a policeman and he lives in Houston, Texas. And he said these words. He said, what white men are fearing, because he happens to be white, is that if somehow or another you as a black people or you as a minority come into power, we are afraid. And he said, I'm saying that rhetorically because it doesn't include me. He said, but we are afraid that if you come into power, you are going to do to us what we've done to you. Well, let me say this. We are not that kind of people. Our heart and our spirit is one of love and forgiveness and inclusivity. We include, not separate. We are a part. We are not a separate part. We are a whole part. And we are human. Nothing more, nothing less. Give us an opportunity as a people to be all that we can be so that we can contribute and help our city, our state, our nation to grow and develop and be the place that God himself has intended for it to be, a place of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Now, I think many of you are going to have the same kind of comments that Mr. Mitchell very adequately expressed. So again, I just repeat, I'm going to call on everybody. You're welcome to speak. But if the topic has been covered, say me too, and please yield. We have 20 speakers. If everybody took 15 minutes, we'd be here quite a while. And we'll stay here as long as we need to stay here. But the point is, I just want to be able to be courteous of everybody else's time that's here. Next up, I'd like to, the next signer was Jeremiah. Again, please give us your full name and address.
Jeremiah Harrion, 1714 South 4th. And Commissioners, I'm up here just to talk to you about two different topics. The first one that I'd like to discuss with you is a growing concern of something that is happening in the Southern Heights neighborhood. It's with the potential of a marijuana farm coming into the community. It's a farm that's going to be located almost in the central part of that neighborhood. And the reason I'm here tonight is to see if the commissioners could discuss if there is, with the growing of medical marijuana, if we could try to figure out a way to keep those farms potentially in agriculturally zoned areas instead of R1s, R2s, R3s, where that could potentially grow into problems for the neighborhood. I've discussed it with Commissioner Derwin, and we have talked to a few of the neighborhood, people that live in the neighborhood, and that is a major concern. And I think before this thing continues to grow and more people find out about this, I think it's something that the commissioners can maybe put some guidelines in place to keep that from potentially growing and making things worse. Second topic is obviously with everything that's going on with the riots and with the protest. You know, I'm here as a pastor and representing a few different churches. I think it's one thing I've seen throughout the years when things become violent or become dangerous, that fear sometimes tends to drive us away from those circumstances. And one thing I learned from working on the streets of Skid Row is that the Bible teaches us that perfect love casts out all fear. And the church's responsibility is to love people no matter what they're going through, no matter what they've been through. And so the churches that I'm here with tonight want to find out how we can help people through this time of need. If that were to be partnering with the city, if we were going to organize protest, or if there's protests that we've seen on Facebook that are maybe coming to town, if the church could come out and maybe offer free hamburgers, bottles of water, music, whatever we could kind of do to be the hands and feet of Christ to help hopefully deter any violence that would come with that. We want to be a part of helping people in this time that's challenging. And so that's something that we're offering, whatever that looks like that you would need or the community would need. We want to be a service to provide anything we could do to help during that time. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Next up, Lillian Norwood. See, she was standing. She knew she was coming.
No introduction needed.
No introduction needed. Hey, kids, hey. My name is Lillian Norwood, and I reside at 468 East Ohio, Enid, Oklahoma. That was all I had to state, right?
Yep,
Okay.
that's it.
I am glad to be here, and I won't be long, but I do want to address just a couple of things, and I do agree with the two guys that came up before. First thing I want to say is that I am the president of the local chapter of the NAACP. And the NAACP is an organization, it is the oldest, nation's oldest, largest and most widely recognized grassroots-based civil rights organization. We have over 500,000 members, and we would love for each and every one of you to become a part of the NAACP. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So what we're seeing in Minneapolis, it's a threat to justice even in Enid, Oklahoma. So we have to be mindful of that. And as Brother Mitchell was saying, one of my greatest fears is for my son to just go out and get Mom, I'm running to get a soda from the store. Is my baby coming back home? That is it's like a pit in the bottom of my stomach that I have to be scared that my child is going to the store and will he make it back home? He's had experiences here in Enid, Oklahoma, driving a car down the street, 3:30 in the afternoon, driving the speed limit. Mama, the cops are following me. Mama, the cops are following me. Well, son, keep driving the speed limit. Keep driving the speed limit. Don't go over the speed limit. Make sure that you're in the right side of the lane. Don't detour any kind of way. This was right up here by Brahms. Keep going a little bit further. He's passing O&K. Mama, they still follow me. They still follow me, Mama. I said, okay. Keep on driving, son. Let me know if anything happens. He gets up the street. The light's on, Mama. The light's on. I'm on my way. I shouldn't have to be scared whether or not my child will come home. That is the scariest feeling that a mother could ever have. I have brothers that have been racially profiled because of the kind of cars that they drive. We talking about Lexus, nice cars, or BMWs. You should not have to be afraid to drive through town because you drive a nice car. That is so scary that life, this young man in Minneapolis, life snapped for $20. $20. And I was just writing things and I was like, how long should this still be happening? How long? It's painful. It's painful. It's painful to have to wonder. And you guys have heard on the news that you have to have the talk with your children. And I have plenty of copies if you all need one. And this is part of what we do with NAACP. We have the talk. All alert. Help stop police misconduct. What to do. Interacting with law enforcement. Keep your hands. Put your hands on the steering wheel. Don't you look to the right or to the left. And we've seen so many things that have happened on TV. It's terrible in 2020 that we still have to have the talk. That our kids are, what would you call it, hunting. They're the prey, P-R-E-Y. The prey is coming after you, son. It should not still be. And it hurts my heart. And as the president, my biggest concern was we've got to do something. We've got to build relationships. And we've had meetings after meetings. We haven't had it this year because of COVID, but we've had meetings with the chief of police. We've had meetings with the sheriff, Garfield County Sheriff's Department. We've had meetings with Mr. DA Mike Fields, and they were wonderful meetings, and a lot came out in those meetings. So to me, the first thing that you have to do in building or working towards a common goal is building relationships, and that's what we're doing. We're continuing to do this, and as of the pandemic starting to lean backwards, we're gonna start those meetings again. Our last one, we did have the police, that was the chief of police and the sheriff, and they said, well, you need to talk to the city manager. I said, okay. So we'll include him next time. But it's important that the city council know what is going on and how far we have to go. We're still taking baby steps forward, but now it's time for us to start leaping forward so that we can come together as we get up and say all the time, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United, we're one, States of America. We're supposed to be indivisible. No one should be able to divide us as a family. We're all family in here. We're one city, and we don't want to see this city destroyed as we're seeing online. We're one nation, one city. And as the last brother Jeremiah was saying, I would love to have a protest. I was getting all these calls like, hey, you guys having a protest? No, we hadn't planned one, but maybe we need to. So I would like to ask today, if we have planned peaceful protests, I invite Mayor Pinkerton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Norwood, Mr. Ezel, Mr. Waddell, Mr. Stallings, Mr. Mason, our city managers, our chief of police, our sheriff's department, the chief. And when they come, they usually bring their second in command too. We have developed quite a relationship. We have exchanged cell phone numbers, and I've received a call this week. Hey, Lanita, have you heard about any protests? No, I haven't. And then I heard my boys right here had one today, and they didn't even call me. Didn't let me know. I had no idea. But I would love to, if we could get together and make it a united Enid protest for lives. Building the relationships within our community. And brother wants to provide the food, we here. He wants to cook, we here. I would love that. But together, we can make a difference. And I will leave some material for the city council as well, just so you can read some background. A lot of people think NAACP, they say, oh Lord, there's that black organization. NAACP was started by white people. It was only just a very few black people in the NAACP. White people got tired of seeing black people lynched and hanging, being the strange fruit, hanging on the trees. So we love everybody. We want to be really strong as we need to be. We need everybody to fight the injustices of this world, to go against systematic racism and discrimination. And brother was talking about the First Amendment. We always hear in Oklahoma, Second Amendment rights. A brother better not go outside with an AK. You think he's a threat just walking, getting out the car, let him walk out with an AK. How would you feel? It's kind of sad that a black man can't bear arms. Our black men don't have the right to bear big arms. So they've been silenced from the Second Amendment. First Amendment, we see a lot of that's been shut down, but we have the freedom of speech. And we want to express our freedom of speech by let's treat everybody with love. We need each other to survive. We need each other. I am going to close, but I will definitely have some material. And I was talking about the talk. It said, know your rights, what to do if you're stopped by the police. We break it all the way down for these babies because we don't want to see them dying. We have a good chief of police and assistant chief of police. I love them both. They're my buddies. Where'd they go? Where'd he go?
Hallway.
Oh, okay. We're friends. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because if I know you, you know me, you know I'm not going to harm you. We build a relationship. We love each other. We're friends. That's all I have to say. Oh, yes, one more thing, guys. I was really hurt, and I was walking the other day, and I was just thinking about the things that have happened in Enid. When I was 17 in high school, one of my classmates was hung on a tree. His name was Mitchell Stanford. We had a young man from Phillips University. His life was snuffed out, and he was a great pianist. I'm not sure, was he from New York? He wasn't from here. And classical pianist, life snuffed out. He was put in Memorial Hospital and gassed to death. And most of us never hear about it because it was like the Tulsa Massacre. It wasn't part of our history. I didn't learn about that until I left and moved away from Oklahoma. So we gotta stop hiding the atrocities, and we have to grow. We have to grow, guys. We can't repeat the past. We cannot repeat the past. We have to move forward. The last thing that I wanted to mention was right here in Garfield County, Mr. Anthony Huff sat in a restrained chair for 55 hours while he urinated on himself, while he had BMs on himself, and he's tied in a chair and food trays around about the chair that he was sitting in. How was he gonna eat? And the bad, ironic thing is that they gave the people, and I have the article here, the people that watched him die, that's cruel. We wouldn't even do that to our best dog or the worst dog. You know what I'm saying? We gotta value human life. He died sitting in a chair, urinating on himself, bowel movements. Oh my God, I would have just, when I went, and the new chief, the new sheriff, he allowed us, the NAACP, to walk through, and we attended many justice reform meetings out at that jail, but he allowed us to go through. And when I saw that chair, I literally almost fell apart, and I'm a pretty strong lady, you know, and I literally almost fell apart, just the thought of that man sitting in that chair, dying, while everybody's looking. How cruel is that? That's cruel. And then the last thing I was thinking about, this little young man that died here, 14-year-old. I wrote his name down, I don't see it. 14-year-old, we need some stats on that. If the person that killed him, that shot him, what's going on with that? Did they get the perpetrator, or did they just get the kids that was running with him? We need an update on that. We need an update. We love y'all.
Okay. Thank you.
Before the next person comes up to speak, I would like to announce that we're going to have a town hall meeting Thursday. Gerald, what time will that meeting be?
6 p.m. is what we're planning.
This Thursday at the Strive Bank Center.
Grand Ballroom. Same place as the last town hall.
Yeah, good, thanks. All right, next up, yes. Okay.
Make a statement, and then the whole group, they'll be done.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's
Yeah, no, that's fine. Who do they rep? Okay, we have quite a few people that are waiting in the hallway, and they've said if one or two of their representatives can speak, then they will clear out and make more room for the others that are here. So I'm going to go ahead and let them speak next. Okay, if the speakers can give a first, last name, and address, please.
Yes, sir. It's Daytron Hammond, Enid, Oklahoma, 715 East Cherokee. I'm 19 years old. I'm gonna make this short. I got a quick little math problem y'all need to do after I speak. This started 1696, it's now 2020. Y'all can do the math, you feel me? I can sit here and preach all day about how we're getting misguided, how they broke down our mind, how they enslaved us, how they did all that, you know what I'm saying? But we all know the truth. We all know why we're fighting. We all know why we're mad. We all know why we're doing all this. This is nothing new. Y'all seen it when you're young. I'm seeing it now. It should never be happening. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you know, like my brother said back here, there's all these people I'm seeing in front of me. I lived here all my life, and you guys don't even know who I am. I don't even know who you guys are by your names. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting here so lost, so still thinking, and then we're sitting there protesting, you know, and I'm sitting here like, you know, this is a good cause, but we really shouldn't be doing this at all. And then she brings up the young black men that died here, and we don't even know about the real story. I don't even know. I just heard that from right now, and I'm whoa, in my own town, didn't make the news, didn't do nothing. So crazy. But that's all I gotta say. But I just want y'all to do 1696 to 2020. It's about almost 1,000 years that we've been fighting for our rights, 500 years in slavery, another 300 some years of, you know, fighting just to sit in the classroom with another person, just to eat with another person, just to show you my pain, you know what I'm saying, brother? School, all that, you know, we go to school, they say that we're all equal, you know, but out of all the black kids, there's only a few of us, and we do get singled out every time.
Well, you learn European history.
Go ahead.
I mean, really, it's all about history, honestly. You know what I mean? And like he was just saying, you know, I have 12 brothers and sisters, and, you know, my father, you know, still struggles with certain things and whatnot, and so I have to step up and teach people how to be a man. And I have 2 felonies, convicted, no probation, nothing, but, you know, yesterday doesn't define who I am as a person. Right now and tomorrow, you know, defines who I am. And, you know, anything I know, I learned the hard way. But it's hard, like, you know, how society and certain things are set up to be, you know, it's set up for nobody to know nothing, you know. It's because, and that's how history repeats itself, when nobody knows no history, you know. And honestly, you know, yeah, certain people know some things. Everybody's woke now, you know, and everybody knows, but really nobody knows nothing, you know. And I really probably know too much, probably. And, you know, once you reach a certain stage of wisdom, understanding or whatnot of all that knowledge, you know, it's almost like, you know, obviously, you know, you have the helpful, hopeless, you know, and they're like, what's the point? Oh, you know, let's hide. Oh, well, you know what I mean? And the grandparents can't teach the kids, grandkids nothing because they're, you know, so caught up in how, you know, society is and whatnot, and trying to be cool, and everybody wants to, you know what I mean? And nobody really knows who they are because they don't know history. And so even in the book of the 48 Laws of Power, it says, you know, the first step to true power is knowing thyself. You know, so we're powerless, you know, really all of it. We're just powerless, you know? And, you know, and so, you know, I mean, we at this point, you know, we're left with no option, no choice, you know? It's either, you know, yeah, people can peaceful protest or whatever, but, you know, at the end of the day, that's not doing anything. You know, nobody even knows enough history to know that we need to be here in the city council meetings, you know, talking to you guys, trying to, you know, come to a, you know, understanding and, you know, works, you know, whatnot, and people just protesting, don't even know what they're protesting, you know? And so, you know, and it's just, man, and really, I don't really even know what to say, just so much to say, but man, basically, you know, it's kind of for the most part, you know, kind of where I'll just leave it for right now. But just praise God, everybody, and I try to tell all my brothers and sisters the main thing, you know, like the rioting and all that, you know, that's what certain things are set up because that's what they want to happen. You know what I mean? They want us out here. They want us to go so we can get slaughtered. You know what I mean? And because we're not organized. You know, there's no structure. Because there's no history. You know, and that's just what it was, history, you know, you know what I mean? And, you know, and just I tell them more than anything, you know, you can't fight fire with fire. You know, we got to be the water, you know what I mean, to put these fires out, you know, and you got to move like water, you know, and be water, you know. And, I mean, that's just, you know, amen and praise God. All right, so my name is Carson McBlair from 635 East Maple. I'm gonna make this really short, actually, because the only thing I have to say is same thing my brother said back here. Like, I wish y'all would be more in the community as being the heads of our city, you know what I'm saying? Also, like, I feel like we need to come more together as a community more inside of Enid. We never get together. We never have any city, community love, you know what I'm saying? Nobody ever links up with each other. Through the city, there's not many activities to do except for run around and do things people shouldn't do. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to ask y'all if y'all could figure out some solutions to come together more as a community. You know what I'm saying? Other than just being so spread apart. Like we said earlier, we really don't know any of you guys. Until today, we didn't even know to come to y'all with our problems. I feel like that should be more of a problem, you know what I'm saying? No kids in the high school know to come here. It's a very big problem, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that should be out there more. I'm done.
My name is Carmela Harwell, and I'm here on behalf of all these young men and women because we want justice and we want peace. And we're going to get it because we're not riding after dark. Everything's going to be in daylight because God is good all the time. Help these babies. Some of these are my grandkids, and I got some more. Let's help them. Let's help them. Don't throw them in jail. Help them. Don't kill them. Help them. Praise the Lord. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank y'all.
Before y'all,
Thank you all for coming here.
before y'all go real
Yeah.
quick. So Enid.org is the website. You've got the phone numbers, and many of us have our addresses posted on that website. And I'm extending the invitation. Matter of fact, I'm challenging each one of y'all to be able to contact one or all of us about the issues that you're facing. See, I don't have your phone number. I don't have your address. I don't know where to find you.
Right.
But my information is on there. My picture's on there, all of our pictures. Call us. If you want to sit down for coffee and talk about what your issues are, or grab a soda or a milkshake or whatever, my treat. Just let me know when and where, and we'll get it done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Thank you all.
I'm gonna wait just a minute, let them clear out in case any of the others want to come back in. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and, the next person that was signed up is Marcia Eves.
That's Maria Eves.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2613 East Pine. I have somewhat of an exhibit I'd like to pass on to the council. We'll refer to this in just a moment.
Here. Just keep. Thank you.
You know, personally, one of my favorite songs is a song by Bruce Hornsby. Oops. And the song by Bruce Hornsby says, that's just the way it is. Some things will never change. But my favorite part of the song is the next line that says, but don't you believe that? And I'm here today because I don't want to be a person that tells my kids that's just the way it is. I'm here to advocate on behalf of my children. I have 3 sons who are Black. Last year, the National Academy of Sciences did some research. Their models projected that 1 in 1,000 black men and boys in America can expect to die at the hands of the police. What that meant is that the leading cause of death for young black men was going to be extrajudicial killing by the police in our country. Now, it's with that backdrop that something started happening last year to me and my family. I have an adult son who is a young man. He's 22 years old. He started being targeted by this police department, the Enid Police Department. He was stopped 4 times in a period of 7 months by the same 2 officers. That's just not statistically possible. But what you don't know, and what there's not a record of that we can go back and get open records on, is that for all the times that we have video of them stopping him, and we have documentation, there's several times outside of that that they followed him around town. He was a delivery driver for one of the food delivery services, so it was his job to be out in the street on a daily basis, traveling the roadways. These interactions escalated. I don't dispute the validity of some of the actual stops. Maybe a tag light was out, maybe a brake light's out. That's valid. But when you escalate unnecessarily, when you use the excuse that somebody has a nervous demeanor to get them out of the car, wait for a drug dog, because they tell you, I'm going to assert my right to not speak to you about any of the questions you're asking me. And they retaliate by escalating the stop. So the last stop escalated to where they're pulling him out of his vehicle. They're using force to drag him out of his vehicle and handcuff him because they, as quote unquote drug recognition experts, said they saw marijuana shake in his car, to which they found none. So this is we're operating in a time and in a place where I have hardcore data that says this is a public health risk for my 3 sons. And then this is happening in real time while I'm knowing this. So we know black and brown bodies are policed more than other races. We know that they use pretextual stops to justify that policing, whether it's a pine cone air freshener or whatever. They use those kind of legitimate stops to over-police and target people of color, and this erodes trust in people of color with the police. And, we filed a racial profiling complaint. There's a statute that Oklahoma has. Unfortunately, it has no teeth. I know that's not your issue. That's something for the state legislator to grapple with and deal with. But one of the ways that that statute works is when you file that complaint with the Office of Civil Rights, they kick it back to the police department. You're accusing of profiling, excessive force, harassment, discrimination, and they allow that agency to conduct their own investigation. And so my son went through that process, and let me tell you, that was not an impartial process. My son was treated like when we decided, the lieutenant investigating that complaint asked my son to meet with him and discuss his complaint, go over the details. He agreed. And he was treated like a defendant on a witness stand, being cross-examined, rather than being treated like a complaining witness there to present their facts and their side of the story. That's unacceptable. He was accused of lying while speaking with the officer who was discussing his complaint. And at that time, we felt, let's just wrap this up. Because when the person who's investigating your complaint is going to call you a liar and just dismiss you from the get, you're not going to get anywhere. We knew we were not going to get anywhere with that. We knew this was not an impartial investigation. So what you're looking at that I gave you, when me and my son first started having these issues, you know, you don't want to believe, sometimes you want to believe the best in people. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I wanted to give the law enforcement authorities in my town the benefit of the doubt. But I went to an NAACP meeting, so I'm also the secretary for the NAACP. And I went to a meeting back in, I think, August of 2019. This was shortly after, I think, the last traffic stop. And the exhibit you're looking at is what was given to us at the meeting by Chief O'Rourke. And that specific exhibit shows traffic stops for a period of time by the Street Crimes Unit from November 1st, 2018 to October 7th, 2019. That's the period of time that you're looking at, and it's referenced there at the bottom. Now, we're not required by law in this state to keep records of a person's race or ethnicity anytime they're stopped or contacted by the police. But just because we're not required to doesn't mean that it's not good policy to do that. How can we say there's a problem or even make a statement that there's not a problem when we don't have accurate data to demonstrate what it is we want to show? So if you take this information, there are a good portion of this. The total information deals with for the contacts deals with 1,998 people, but of those, 939's race is unknown. But you know the race for the other 1,059 people. So operating with that subset of data, you're able to determine with the known race information that 13.9% of all known race contacts by Enid Street Crimes Unit were Black people. Arrests accounted for 14.87% of Black people. When you take into account that recent population data shows that Black people only make up approximately 3.5% of this population, that is a very clear overrepresentation when it comes to stops, when it comes to contacts, when it comes to arrest. So we used this data to support our claim in our racial profiling complaint against the city. And so, you know, I don't like to just make accusations. I don't like to operate on assumptions. When I make a statement or when I allege something, I want to have something to back that up. So that clearly shows that there's a problem with people of color being targeted in this town by police, and more specifically, the Street Crimes Unit. Have you guys had an opportunity to look on your website, enid.org, under the police employment tab? There's a police recruitment video. And when you watch this video, you would think Enid was just a horrible, crime-ridden, drug-infested community. There is nothing in that video that says, come to Enid, we're beautiful, we've got diversity, this is our community, these are the jobs. There's nothing advertising for a person to come here because Enid is a great place. In fact, most of the video is comprised of almost SWAT-like tactics. I mean, you've got the big rifles, and I mean, we're funding the police department to recruit people here, and the only thing that we're offering them is you may get to do violence to somebody in our community. That's unacceptable. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be the reasons a person decides to be a police officer in this town. I'll just end with also saying that, shortly after we filed our racial profiling complaint, one of the wives of an officer that was listed in that complaint went to my son's job, disparaged him at his job in front of his coworker and other customers that were there. She physically assaulted and attacked him. And she specifically said on videotape the reason she did that is because he was exercising his First Amendment right and speaking out about what had happened to him and his relationship with the police. That's wrong. That's unacceptable. And I know the police department would like to distance themselves from what happened that night. However, what has not been made part of the public record is that before she came to that store by herself, that same night, shortly before she showed up, she came a previous time, maybe an hour or so before, and she came with another Enid police officer. And he couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were laughing and kind of, gesturing at him. And as they walked out the door, she said, "Piece of S," and they left. And he said to his coworker, "Did she say what I thought she said?" So she was there with another officer. I believe, it's my opinion, that that other officer pointed her out and said, that's the guy who's telling people, what he believes to have happened with your husband. And then he was attacked. So when people affiliated with the city through their relationships attack people for exercising their First Amendment rights, when speaking out against excessive force, racial profiling, harassment, that should not be tolerated at all. So I would just like to, in closing, say, referring back to the racial profiling investigation, when you're called a liar, when you go through the channels, the proper procedures, and you use a remedy afforded to you under our law in Oklahoma, and you're treated poorly because you brought that complaint to the department, when you're called out as a liar, and when your complaint is not treated with impartiality, and when you have to file an open records lawsuit against the city just to get relevant information concerning your complaint, that is not a department that operates in good faith or transparency. And we all pay the price for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up your mask.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Michael Shook.
I think he's gone.
Okay. Tricia Mitchell, she still here?
I think she was signed up.
Those
for
signed up
parking.
for appointments.
Oh, okay. Park Board, you're right. Appointments. Camilla Howell? No. Kobe Shumack? Okay. DeMonte Parker? Bubba Bryant? Some of these folks may have spoken in the group that was earlier, so. Carson McBlair?
Spoke, I think.
Okay.
Sound system.
Isaac Bates? Demetrius Office, I think I see him. Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Demetrius Office. I reside at 320 Dogwood Lane. First of all, I want to say I love everybody. And I'm so glad I didn't have to follow Mr. Mitchell, who looked like Morgan Freeman. And Lanita, I'm not sure where she went. She looked just like my mother, I promise you. She looks just like my mother and act like my mother too. So following those people is a tremendous feat. I heard Maria's passion. I got to Enid in December 2008 by way of Vance Air Force Base. It brought me out here. Funny story how I got here to Enid. Best friend of mine's when we were stationed in McCord, Joint Base Lewis now, we got assignments, you know, and we had an option to choose New Jersey or Oklahoma, and we decided to come to Oklahoma. And when I got to Oklahoma, I didn't like it. I promise you, I didn't like it. From a big city, I must admit. But I arrived here, and a few years had passed, and I'm a spiritual guy, and God had told me that it was time for me to come off of active duty, and after 13 years, and stay in this community. And I met you fine folks here, and Gerald, and you know, already knew the mayor here from the military standpoint, and Enid began to grow me. So I'm here today for a specific reason, and before I get into that specific reason, and I want to encourage you guys to participate in that specific reason, but I want to just remind everybody that we've come a long ways. We've come a long ways. You know, in 1858, Senator Lincoln failed miserably trying to keep slavery out of the West. He failed miserably, got knocked down. They wanted to pursue that cause regardless of anything. But I found it to be incredible to see his tenacity, to see his fight, to see his passion to keep moving forward. And sometimes in life, we got to remember that it takes failure to go forward. It takes failure to learn from those mistakes and be stronger and go back to the lab and concoct a better potion, a better message, and come out even stronger. And next thing you know, he was elected our United States president. And what was alarming to me is the mere fact that even though he failed in 1858, what was alarming to me that there was many people that supported his cause. And I just want to remind people that we've come a long way. We might be having injustices today that we don't agree with. It may break our heart, it may make us angry, but we've come a long way. We got a long way to go, but forums like this is where it starts. Being open, being accessible. Access is the biggest key. Being accessible is the biggest, feat that we have. And yeah, it may cut into your family time from time to time. It may cut into the time that you spend with your little kids, But hopefully it's not 100% of the time. And hopefully when we do meet and when we do come together, we are solving problems. We are bringing things to the table, and we are writing it down, and we're solving problems. Last night in our country, in our world today, it broke my heart. At that particular moment, I had already made a decision that however long that I needed to stay on the phone with my daughter to get her to see, hear, feel, take action, I was going to do it. However long it took. I'm pretty sure the people that's in this room today and who's spoken has made that same declaration, however long it takes. Today, on my lunch, I'm trying to eat my food, and my 13-year-old daughter called me, crying profusely. She's mixed. She's both white and black. She told me today over the phone, she said, Dad, I'm sad and I'm angry. I said, honey, which are you most? Are you more sad or are you more angry? She said, well, Dad, I'm more sad than angry. I said, oh, gosh, thank you. Because my God is so powerful that he can cure a broken heart. Anger comes with too much action today and destruction. Sometimes anger is good, but if left unchecked, it can escalate into something ugly and cost the lives of many more Americans, many more civilians, many more casualties. And by God, I did not sign up for the United States Air Force in 2001 right after 9/11 to serve my country, to make sure that we provide simple freedoms that we can enjoy today on our soil, to see my Americans be killed. And I say Americans with a big A. So I'm here today. This Saturday, I had an unusual experience. I was out golfing. Anybody like golfing? I was out golfing and I was enjoying the time with my friends, and we were playing golf in Hennessy at Turkey Creek. We got through a round of 18 and we decided to keep going, and we got through, another 17 holes, and one of my brothers had witnessed me make a very long putt, and anybody that play golf know that's a tough feat, And when you hit that putt, you are happy. You are ecstatic. You did something. And so two of them out of the three brothers was like, man, that was an awesome putt. That was so amazing. I mean, that was an awesome putt. And then one of the brothers out of all of them was like, that's not anything. He ain't do nothing. Just trying to steal my thunder. Well, we got into a political discussion after that. I fell into the trap. And it just so happened that my opinion was different than the three of them. And it felt like an assault. It felt like an attack because my opinion was different. My opinion was just different. I just saw different. I just understood different. And one of them actually made the comment to me that if Muhammad Ali was alive today, he would punch you in your face for what you said. Violence. Inciting violence. My mother raised me in a home, and I can't remember not one specific time where my mother talked about race, color, gender, sex, black, white, purple, whoever, I can't remember not one time she ever spoke about that. But what I do remember as a kid, I do remember my mother showing me love. She may have beat the mess out of me at times, but she made me come to that bed and she made me sit down and she told me exactly why she beat me and why she wanted to correct that behavior so that I didn't continue that behavior going forward. She taught me hard love. I didn't experience racism until I stepped out of my front door. So yes, we have some work to do. But just like I said, I got here in 2008, in December 2008, I'm just a regular citizen. I'm a plain old regular Joe. I'm just here, to live and coexist and love and be a part. But this experience that I had this weekend really rocked me to my core. It shook me to my core, and I couldn't understand why I was ganged up on and ridiculed because of my opinion. They wasn't ready to accept my opinion. They wasn't ready to accept my narrative. They wasn't ready to accept my issues, my concerns. And so this past Saturday, after just rehearsing, time and time over in my head, like what, how? you know, why? Why is it like that? Why couldn't we come to an agreement, you know? And you can see at one point it was sort of confirmation bias because, you know, three of them was just, they was feud, you know, 3 against 1, you know, I know you're wrong, Colin Kaepernick and blah, 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 and this and that. And it was just going way south. And that's not one time, that's not nothing I could have said that could have changed that outcome, changed that situation, you know, open up new possibilities. And so yesterday, was it yesterday, Gerald? Or a couple of days ago? No, it was yesterday. It was yesterday.
Today's only Tuesday.
Today's only Tuesday. Where the time goes? Where does the time go? Right? So, you know, yesterday morning, I walked into work and I was explaining to a coworker of mine what had happened over the weekend. They asked me how my weekend was, and I explained to them what happened over the weekend, and I was still emotionally distraught, you know, because I was just heartbroken. And I just heard a still, quiet voice say, "You need to do something about it. You need to do something about it." You know the issues that we're facing in our country today. You know the issues that surrounding our culture. You know these lines of segregation. You know how we're breaking apart as a people. So you need to do something about it. And so as I spoke to my daughter last night, crying and weeping, as I spoke to my daughter on my lunch hour this today, I wanted to explain to them why taking action is vitally important, and why being independent in your thinking and researching and understanding what you believe in to be true, and not just listening to the propaganda of the media, but coming to your own conclusions. And so I kept reflecting about, you know, many conversations that I had with many citizens here in the city of Enid, and what they were experiencing and what caused restriction in their life. And the resounding question was, I don't have access. I don't know who. We heard this young man come up here to this podium this evening and say, I didn't know I could come here. I didn't know that this was my access point, but now I know. And so just yesterday morning, still voice, I'm a spiritual man, so it was God to me, you know. Still voice said, you need to do this. And so I decided that I wanted to put together a town hall. And so I just put through that feeler out there, you know, and just wanted to see who was interested in you know, sitting on the panel of a town hall. So I contacted my senator, Roland Peterson. I contacted our mayor. I contacted our city manager. I contacted Commissioner Waddell. I contacted, you know, Commissioner Norwood. I contacted, you know, Chief O'Rourke. I contacted the superintendent, Dr. Darrell Floyd. I contacted some folks in our healthcare professionals. I contacted some people in our nonprofits in our city. And lo and behold, I got 100% of participation on the panel. So this town hall meeting that is scheduled for Thursday at 6 p.m., I want to encourage and I want to implore you guys to get out there in the streets. And I want you to tell every person that you can touch, every person that's in your family, every person that matters most to you. I want them to be in attendance on Thursday at 6 p.m. I want you to go back to the military, and I want you to tell every airman, every pilot, every spouse, you know, every child on the military base that we're hosting a town hall meeting. We're going to cover 3 topics. We're going to cover health, just the state and nature of our country. We're going to cover education. And we're going to talk about George Floyd. We're going to talk about these issues. We're going to open that up, and we're going to have an all-star panel here. And your congressmen, your representatives, if they ever told me that they never could access their congressman, I said, I might as well bring them to you. I'm going to bring them right to your doorstep. So now you won't have no excuses, no complaints, no gripes about anything. I want you to ask your questions the way you want to ask your questions, and I want our panel to respond to you in the most sincere-hearted way. And we might not have all the answers, but this is a start. You know, in the parable of the sower, he developed the seeds, and the seeds, he threw the seeds on a rocky ground because he didn't know how to prepare that land. And then he threw the seeds on thorny ground, and Mother Nature took over, and it didn't matter. But then he realized that he needed to till the ground, he needed to cultivate the land, he needed to make sure that when he threw his seeds down, they were going to get inside the ground, he was going to have to nurture it, and he was going to have to plant that seed and then monitor it and make sure that it began to sprout and grow. That's the only way we're going to get a harvest. If we start with opening up our city, we start with and building our relationships, if we start by being tolerant of somebody else's opinion and not closed-minded, if we start by loving, if we start by being together, if we start by just saying, I love you, that's how we're going to plant the seeds in the right soil for a harvest. And so Thursday night, 6 o'clock, we got a tall order in store. And so what I asked was for prayer that that meeting continue to be civil. I will be your moderator that evening. I asked for that prayer. I asked for prayer for that meeting to be civil. I asked for people to have the right questions, to know how to ask the right questions. I pray for my panel that they can answer those questions. And I pray that before we walk out, we might not reach 100%. We might not reach 100%. We might not even reach 50%. Some people would call that a failure because you only reach 5%. But that's a win to me. So thank you very much.
All right. All right. Thank you. Yvette Davis. Okay. Harley Bradford. Ricardo Cortez. Okay. Datron Hammond. Lydia Montiel. Tristan Washington. Okay, that's all that had signed up. Are there any others in attendance that arrived late that would like to address the panel before we move on? Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Item 5. I don't think there's that much of the regular agenda
Okay.
left.
All right. Yeah, I don't either. All right. All right. Item number 5, administration. Item 5.1, consider an ordinance amending Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 2, entitled Finance and Taxation, Chapter 6, entitled Fee Schedule, Article C, entitled City Services and Facilities, Section 2-6C-4, entitled Meadow Lake Golf Course, Rates and Fees, to include sales tax and flat fees, charged and revised green fees, membership fees, locker rentals, providing for repealer, savings clause, severability, and codification.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 5.2, consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 8, Utilities, Chapter 4, Solid Waste, Section 8-4-6, to clarify when polycarts or dumpsters should be utilized, providing for repealer, savings clause, severability, and codification.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 5.3, consider revising the latest COVID-19 declaration dated May 19th, 2020, and the Enid COVID-19 Phased Plan revised May 19th, 2020. Gerald, did you want to speak to that?
This is an opportunity for the commission to consider if they want to make any changes. June 1st, the city moved into our Phase 2, our reopening plan. The governor, I think Friday, announced that the state was moving into Phase 3 of the state's plan, which is effective unless a municipality has more restrictive measures still in place. We do have, our measures are a little more restrictive. There's not a whole lot of differences, but social distancing is one of them. Particularly restaurants is a good example, where restaurants are still required to keep 6 feet between tables. With the governor's plan, Phase 3, that goes away. So it's an opportunity for you to leave what we have in place or to make changes if you want to. My humble suggestion is you might consider, whether it's now or at some future point, going ahead and moving to Phase 3, but that's totally your decision, and we'll continue to do whatever you want. But in accordance with having the commission make these decisions, we'll probably put it on every agenda between now and whenever we don't need to talk about it anymore, for you to do something or not do something, as you will. So that's really all I have.
Have we taken any kind of, what have we done in terms of monitoring compliance or enforcement or providing notifications? What have we done so far to make sure people are actually following?
Our compliance efforts, I will say, have been limited. We've responded to complaints. Early on, primarily, it was about large gatherings, bars, for instance. I don't believe, I'm not aware that we've responded. I'm not really even aware we've had any complaints in several weeks.
So we're not enforcing it, then, is what it sounds like.
I'm not saying that we're actively going out and checking restaurants. No, we're not. But I will also, so yes, I think that's the answer. I do know that I did reach out to the hospital administrators because I just asked them, what do you think? This is what I think. They concurred that moving to Phase 3, in their opinion, was all right because justified by the statistics. The city, I think, is currently at 25 positives and maybe 28 or 29 in the county. Doesn't mean that it's still not a threat, not a valid thing, not something that can that we could have a spike like Guyman's had. But one of the hospital administrators mentioned to me that even Guyman, they aren't concerned, but from the hospital perspective, about being able to treat COVID patients now in Guyman. So I don't want to come off as I just want to tell you what I think, and you guys tell me. You tell me what we're going to do. So
did we get any of the last time we had a meeting, testing had stopped at the county health department because they were overloaded, and there were a bunch of pending nursing home tests. Did all that backlog get worked through?
Yes, it's my understanding that the email that I received from Maggie Jackson answering one of my inquiries yesterday was, yes, all the backlogs have been completed. So I don't know what the exact tally was, but it was thankfully relatively small. I think 2 or 3 or something, or maybe it was a little more. I don't know. It might have been a few more than that, but we know we only have 25 in the city. She did mention that they have more testing available now, and they've had less demand for it. So that is encouraging that anybody that wants to get a test, please go to the health department. You can get a test.
Great.
So as one of the places, and there's maybe more places. You can go to the urgent care places now, the hospitals, every elective procedure now. I've talked to, there's been numerous city employees that have gone in, and they typically test and then have to quarantine for a week. I was talking to somebody today. Actually, it was one of our community leaders that was getting ready to have a surgery and was telling me that he was quarantining because he just had his COVID test. So testing is much more prevalent. I know the county, last time I didn't specifically ask about it, but they were getting this 15-minute machine. I do know there were limitations. There was only one trained person, and it's an 8-county region, so I don't know. But I was encouraged that, per Maggie Jackson, anybody that wants to get a test can go and get it, and they've had reduced demand lately.
Good. Yeah. One of the things we talked about at the last meeting, or maybe the one before, is getting some more of that information to us.
Okay.
And I don't think I've seen any more information coming via email at all. So I do think it's incumbent upon us to be watching those numbers. This kind of feels a little bit like I know it's a weird metaphor or a comparison, but the Suddenlink thing, you know, we got up the creek with Suddenlink because nobody's watching it. And I don't, it is crazy that it's fallen on municipalities to watch this, and yet I think it's incumbent on us to be aware of the numbers, and if we see a spike, to roll things back and to be able to move quickly. But if we don't know, if the information's not being given to us, then we don't have the tools to be able to take those steps if we do see a spike like Guyman or many, many, many other cities. So please get us more of that information.
Yeah, and we are still meeting, Gerald and I meet with there's a group of community leaders that are meeting once a week, including Garfield County Health Department, both the hospital administrators, and that's part of what we review. Anything that we're considering on doing as far as restrictions or loosening of restrictions, we talk with at that forum, and they provided some of that information. But I think we need to get more feedback to you and the rest of the commission.
That would be great.
So, Ben, I completely agree with you, believe it or not, on the...
Well, I'm frequently right, David, so thank you.
On the testing and being able to have enough information that we can always look at that. And I would appreciate it if we keep that coming in so that we know. But that said, I will make the motion that we follow the governor's plan, his phase 3 that he's got. So I'll make that motion right now that we follow that. I think it would help if we would all be on the same plan. Because it happened at different times, we were at different places. I think we're in a pretty good place is what I'm hearing right now.
But David, why on earth do we want large gatherings to be allowed? I mean, isn't that like how spikes happen?
Well, Ben, we can sit around and, I mean, they could all catch type flu A when they all meet. I mean,
this isn't the flu,
I understand that, but at some point, our numbers continue to go down and down and down up here in Garfield County. We've got to open this thing back up. And they're doing it now. I mean, the graduations I went to, they separated us, and then you're dismissed, everybody. So it's...
That's my problem. We're not enforcing it. But large gatherings are still a problem.
Go in there, give everybody a ticket at graduation? Not going to happen, Ben. It's just not going to happen.
It is other places, David. Don't say it's not going to happen, because in other parts of our country, it is.
It's not going to happen
simply
here
is.
because we don't need it to happen here.
Well, I mean, we don't know. That's
Right
part
now,
of.
we don't need it to happen.
CDC guidance on large gatherings is 250, and the governor in phase 3 defers to the CDC. I can tell you of events that the city sponsors or runs, we won't be having any events that have 250 plus people.
Right? That's what I heard.
Most, at the event center, for instance, I think the next concert is in October. Hopefully, things will be much, 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 much better in October.
We do have the town hall on Thursday.
I'd second that motion.
Before we vote, I just need to get some clarity on it. Once we open it back up according to the governor's legislation, does this mean that we do away with the social distancing or what?
Not from what I read.
The governor, I believe his plan refers to CDC guidance, which is still social distancing of 6 feet. However, I will say that I think there are some inconsistencies that we, if you look at some of the specific guidance, like on restaurants, the requirement for 6 foot between tables goes away in the governor's phase 3 plan. So to me, that was the effort with restaurants, with seating, where I've seen in most restaurants, or all the restaurants I've been at least until maybe Monday, every other table was marked off because restaurants were trying to follow that guidance. I think there is some confusion out there with some folks that are trying to follow the governor's plan, don't know that the municipal plan may be different. So yes, there's social distancing still in effect. However, the CDC also says that if you can't maintain the social distancing, you should wear a mask. So
that includes places of worship, churches, and everything else. You won't
have the social distancing guidelines, everyone can still sit, everyone will be able to sit together?
Churches have had specific guidance listed on the governor's, the Commerce website specifically on separating the pews. I didn't specifically look at what changed there in Phase 3 for churches. But as you said, in churches, the guidance in Phase 2 was that family units can sit together and there is no social distancing going on. But in reality, at homes, there's no or there probably isn't social distancing going on. So I think that was the logic behind that.
One more question on this. So if we move forward to do away basically with the social distancing and open everything up, does that make the city, government liable or any establishment?
No.
Okay.
Ethically questionable, but.
But the governor's stuff, it is not completely consistent, but he still asks for social distancing and for social distancing and to wear masks voluntarily when you're out and social distancing is a problem. It's just that in these business contexts, he's letting the numbers get up.
There are more exceptions than there are rules, and my problem fundamentally
true.
is that we are making a statement to the community that everything's fine, don't worry about it, don't take it seriously. And by saying, yeah, no, graduations are fine. Have a couple hundred people in one place, that's fine. If we are rolling all this back, and again, it's crazy that this is on a municipality. This is dumb that cities are in the place to do this. This is not our job. It shouldn't be. But the state has largely abdicated it, and the federal government has entirely abdicated it. However, it fell on us. And we are telling the community by rolling this back further, everything's fine, don't worry about it. And that's just fundamentally not true. We've been really fortunate. We've been very lucky. I hope that continues. But there's a matter of scale, and changing things so we have a couple dozen people in one place is one thing. It limits the amount of potential transmission, the potential infection, and limits the scale of any given spike when things are more diffuse. But if we're telling the community, fine, 300 people go to a wedding all at once, all of a sudden that risk potential shot up exponentially. So it's not that, it's that if an infection does occur, if transmission is occurring, we are dramatically increasing the risk to the entire community because there's that exponential growth thing with any kind of viral infection. I don't think it's time to be giving anybody false hope. We're lucky. We've been lucky. I hope we continue to be lucky. But it's not out of anything we've done. We've basically been lucky.
I'm just saying, let's just follow the governor's plan. I just think that makes it very simple and it clears a lot of things up.
And when your friend jumps off the bridge, you don't jump off the bridge after. I mean, it's.
Ben, I know that.
All right. Okay.
I've been out there every time.
But you were saying a while ago, you wish that we didn't have to do it at the local municipal level, that it would have been handled at the state level. That's all I'm saying, let's do.
Yes, but I'm saying I think that the governor abdicated his responsibility by being woefully inadequate in his precautions. And so I don't think that the appropriate thing to do for us is to follow suit in bad judgment. I think we got to do the best we can. But I've also been outvoted on every single one of these, and it's probably moved anyway. But I want to make the point to the public, to the 7 people that are still watching, this doesn't mean everything's okay. We still have to be careful. Don't get a false sense of security here. We are just as much at risk as we have been, and we've had 100,000 people die in this country. That's not like peanuts here. 100,000 people dying. And we're taking it seriously.
I will say, before we take the vote, that if we need to come up with another emergency declaration, if something happens, I'm not going to wait until the next city council meeting. I'm going to do something, and I'm going to do it right away, and it's going to happen immediately, and we'll ratify it later.
I'm good with that.
But that's what we have to do. And just because there's not a problem in, if Oklahoma City has a big spike, that's really not us unless they're coming here. But if we have a big spike here and they don't in Oklahoma, I think it's incumbent on us to protect the society that we're charged with protecting, and that's Enid, Oklahoma. So if I see things happening going south here, it's going to happen quick, and we're going to do another emergency declaration to deal with that. So I just want to make sure. Now, on the other hand, I think I owe you all an apology because when it came time to relaxing restrictions, we're not under an emergency provision to do that. And I think I should have consulted more with you before I did that, and I vow to do that in the future. So when it comes to relaxing restrictions, I think we do that as a body. When it comes to making emergency declarations, that has to happen quickly, and I'm going to do that. So I just wanted to put that on the end. But we have a motion to go with the governor's Phase 3 plan. We have a second for that motion. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Close vote. Motion carries 4-3. So we are going to be following the governor's plan. Okay. Item number 6 is consent.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 7, recess to convene as Enid Municipal Authority. All trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 9.1, approval of claims in the amount of $158,440.20.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 10, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item number 11, all trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 12, Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is in session. Item 12.1, approval of claims in the amount of $15,367.27.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 13, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 14 was already covered earlier in the evening. That was public comment. Item number 15, executive session. Item 15.1, consider convening into executive session to discuss economic development incentives in conjunction with the redevelopment proposal for the theater tract located within the district plat at the southeast corner of West O and K Garriott Road and Cleveland Street to discuss 2020-2021 Enid Regional Development Association contract and reconvene into regular session to take any necessary action.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor, please cast your ballots. All right, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.